Welcome back in part 3 of Google. Anyways, let's continue. Google's initial public offering, IPO, took place on August 19, 2004.
At IPO, the company offered 19,605,052 shares at a price of $85 per share.
The sale of $1.67 billion gave Google a market capitalization of more than $23 billion.
The stock performed well after the IPO, with shares hitting $350 for the first time on October 31, 2007. Primarily because of strong sales and earnings in the online advertising market.
The surge in stock price was fueled mainly by individual investors as opposed to large institutional investors and mutual funds.
GOOG shares split into GOOG Class C shares and GOOG L Class A shares.
The company is listed on the Nasdaq Stock Exchange under the ticker symbols GOOGL and GOOG, and on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol GGQ1.
These ticker symbols now refer to Alphabet Incorporated, Google's holding company, since the fourth quarter of 2015.
In the third quarter of 2005, Google reported a 700% increase in profit, largely due to large companies shifting their advertising strategies from newspapers, magazines, and television to the internet. For the 2006 fiscal year, the company reported $10.492 billion in total advertising revenues and only $112 million in licensing and other revenues.
In 2011, 96% of Google's revenue was derived from its advertising programs.
Google generated $50 billion in annual revenue for the first time in 2012, generating $38 billion the previous year.
In January 2013, then CEO Larry Page commented, "We ended 2012 with a strong quarter. Revenues were up 36% year-on-year and 8% quarter-on-quarter, and we hit $50 billion in revenues for the first time last year. Not a bad achievement in just a decade and a half."
Google's consolidated revenue for the third quarter of 2013 was reported in mid-October 2013 at $14.89 billion, a 12% increase compared to the previous quarter.
Google's internet business was responsible for $10.8 billion of this total, with an increase in the number of users' clicks on advertisements.
By January 2014, Google's market capitalization had grown to $397 billion. Google uses various tax avoidance strategies.
On the list of largest technology companies by revenue, it pays the lowest taxes to the countries of origin of its revenues.
Google between 2007 and 2010 saved $3.1 billion in taxes by shuttling non-US profits through Ireland and the Netherlands, and then to Bermuda.
Such techniques lower its non-US tax rate to 2.3%, while normally the corporate tax rate in, for instance, the UK, is 28%.
This reportedly sparked the French investigation into Google's transfer pricing practices in 2012. In 2020, Google said it had overhauled its controversial global tax structure and consolidated all of its intellectual property holdings back to the US. Google Vice President Matt Britton testified to the Public Accounts Committee of the UK House of Commons that his UK sales team made no sales and hence owed no sales taxes to the UK.
In January 2016, Google reached a settlement with a UK to pay £130 million in back taxes plus higher taxes in future.
In 2017, Google channeled $22.7 billion from the Netherlands to Bermuda to reduce its tax bill. In 2015, Google ranked 5th in lobbying spending, up from 215th in 2003.
In 2012, the company ranked 2nd in campaign donations of technology and internet sections.
The name Google originated from a misspelling of Google, which refers to the number represented by a 1, followed by 100 zeros.
TaBNWNE write in their original paper on PageRank, we chose our system name, Google, because it is a common spelling of Google. Or 10-100 and fits well with our goal of building very large-scale search engines.
Having found its way increasingly into everyday language, the verb Google was added to the Merriam-Webster Collegiate Dictionary and the Oxford English Dictionary in 2006, meaning to use a Google search engine to obtain information on the internet.
Google's mission statement, from the outset, was to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful, and its unofficial slogan is, "Don't be evil."
In October 2015, a related motto was adopted in the Alphabet Corporate Code of Conduct by the phrase, "Do the right thing."
The original motto was retained in the Code of Conduct of Google, now a subsidiary of Alphabet.
The original Google logo was designed by Sergey Brin.
Since 1998, Google has been designing special, temporary alternate logos to place on their homepage, intended to celebrate holidays, events, achievements, and people.
The first Google Doodle was in honor of the Burning Man Festival of 1998.
The doodle was designed by Larry Page and Sergey Brin to notify users of their absence, in case the servers crashed.
Subsequent Google Doodles were designed by an outside contractor until Larry and Sergey asked them in turn Dennis Wang to design a logo for Pastel Day in 2000.
From that point onward, doodles have been organized and created by a team of employees termed doodlers.
Google has a tradition of creating April Fool's Day jokes.
Its first, on April 1, 2000, was Google Mentalplex, which allegedly featured the use of mental power to search the web.
In 2007, Google announced a free internet service called the ISP, or Toilet Internet Service Provider, where one obtained a connection by flushing one end of a fiber optic cable down their toilet. Google services contain Easter eggs, such as the Swedish chefs, Pork, Pig Latin, Hacker, or Leapspeak, Elmer Fudd, Pirate, and Klingon as language selections for its search engine.
When searching for the word anagram, meaning a rearrangement of letters from one word to form other valid words, Google's suggestion feature displays, "Did you mean nagaram?"
Since 2019, Google runs free online courses to help engineers learn how to plan and author technical documentation better. On Fortune magazine's list of the best companies to work for, Google ranked first in 2007, 2008 and 2012, and fourth in 2009 and 2010.
Google was also nominated in 2010 to be the world's most attractive employer to graduating students in the Universum Communications Talent Attraction Index.
Google's corporate philosophy includes principles such as, you can make money without doing evil, you can be serious without a suit, and work should be challenging and the challenge should be fun. As of September 30, 2020, Alphabet Incorporated had 132,121 employees, of which more than 100,000 worked for Google.
Google's 2020 diversity report states that 32% of its workforce are women and 68% are men, with the ethnicity of its workforce being predominantly white, 51.7%, and Asian, 41.9%.
Within tech roles, 23.6% were women, and 26.7% of leadership roles were held by women.
In addition to its more than 100,000 full-time employees, Google used about 121,000 temporary workers and contractors as of March 2019.
Google's employees are hired based on a hierarchical system.
Employees are split into 6 hierarchies based on experience and can range from entry-level data center workers at level 1 to managers and experienced engineers at level 6.
As a motivation technique, Google uses a policy known as innovation time off, where Google engineers are encouraged to spend 20% of their work time on projects that interest them.
Some of Google's services, such as Gmail, Google News, Orkut, and AdSense, originated from these independent endeavors.
In a talk at Stanford University, Marissa Mayer, Google's vice president of search products and user experience until July 2012, showed that half of all new product launches in the second half of 2005 had originated from the innovation time off. In 2005, articles in the New York Times and other sources began suggesting that Google had lost its anti-corporate, no evil philosophy.
In an effort to maintain the company's unique culture, Google designated a chief culture officer whose purpose was to develop and maintain the culture and work on ways to keep true to the core values that the company was founded on.
Google has also faced allegations of sexism and ageism from former employees.
In 2013, a class action against several Silicon Valley companies, including Google, was filed for alleged no cold call agreements which restrain the recruitment of high-tech employees.
In a lawsuit filed January 8, 2018, multiple employees and job applicants alleged Google discriminated against a class defined by their conservative political views, male gender, and/or Caucasian or Asian race. On January 25, 2020, the formation of an International Workers Union of Google employees, Alpha Global, was announced.
The coalition is made up of 13 different unions representing workers in 10 countries, including the United States, the United Kingdom, and Switzerland.
The group is affiliated with a UNI Global Union, which represents nearly 20 million international workers from various unions and federations.
The formation of the union is in response to persistent allegations of mistreatment of Google employees and a toxic workplace culture.
Google had previously been accused of surveilling and firing employees who were suspected of organizing a workers' union.
In 2021, court documents revealed that between 2018 and 2020, Google ran an anti-union campaign called Project Vivian to convince them employees that unions suck.
In February 2025, Google dropped their commitment to make diversity, equity, and inclusion part of everything we do from their annual investor report.
This action followed Meta, Amazon, Pepsi, McDonald's, Walmart, and others who all have rolled back their DEI programs.
Google's headquarters in Mountain View, California is referred to as the Googleplex, a play on words on the number Googleplex and the headquarters itself being a complex of buildings.
Internationally, Google has over 78 offices in more than 50 countries.
In 2006, Google moved into about 300,000 square feet, 27,900 square meters of office space at 111 8th Avenue in Manhattan, New York City.
The office houses its largest advertising sales team.
In 2010, Google bought the building housing the headquarters in a deal that valued the property at around $1.9 billion.
In March 2018, Google's parent company Alphabet bought the nearby Chelsea Market building for $2.4 billion.
The sale is touted as one of the most expensive real estate transactions for a single building in the history of New York.
In November 2018, Google announced its plan to expand its New York City office to a capacity of 12,000 employees.
The same December, it was announced that a $1 billion, 1,700,000 square foot, 160,000 square meters, headquarters for Google would be built in Manhattan's Hudson Square neighborhood.
Called Google Hudson Square, the new campus is projected to more than double the number of Google employees working in New York City.
By late 2006, Google established a new headquarters for its AdWords division in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
In November 2006, Google opened offices on Carnegie Mellon's campus in Pittsburgh, focusing on shopping, related advertisement, coding, and smartphone applications and programs.
Other office locations in the U.S. include Atlanta, Austin, Boulder, Colorado, Cambridge, Massachusetts, San Francisco, Seattle and Kirkland, Washington, Birmingham, Michigan, Reston, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and Madison, Wisconsin. It also has product research and development operations in cities around the world, namely Sydney, birthplace location of Google Maps, and London, part of Android development.
In November 2013, Google announced plans for a new London headquarters, a 1 million square foot office able to accommodate 4,500 employees.
Recognized as one of the biggest ever commercial property acquisitions at the time of the deal's announcement in January, Google submitted plans for the new headquarters to the Camden Council in June 2017.
In May 2015, Google announced its intention to create its own campus in Hyderabad, India.
The new campus, reported to be the company's largest outside the United States, will accommodate 13,000 employees. Google's global offices sum a total of 86 locations worldwide, with 32 offices in North America, 3 of them in Canada and 29 in the United States territory. California being the state with the most Google's offices, with 9 in total including the Googleplex.
In the Latin America region, Google counts with 6 offices, in Europe 24, 3 of them in UK.
The Asia-Pacific region counts with 26 offices, principally 5 in India and 3 in Australia, 3 in China, and the Africa-Middle East region counts 5 offices. Google has data centers in North and South America, Asia, and Europe.
There is no official data on the number of servers in Google data centers. However, research and advisory firm Gartner estimated in a July 2016 report that Google at the time had 2.5 million servers.
Traditionally, Google relied on parallel computing on commodity hardware like mainstream x86 computers, similar to home PCs, to keep costs per query low.
In 2005, it started developing its own designs, which were only revealed in 2009.
Google has built its own private submarine communications cables.
The first cable, named Curie, connects California with Chile and was completed on November 15, 2019.
The second fully Google-owned undersea cable, named TaBNWNE, connects the United States with France and is planned to begin operation in 2020.
Google's third subsea cable, Equiano, will connect Lisbon, Portugal with Lagos, Nigeria and Cape Town, South Africa.
The company's fourth cable, named Grasshopper, connects landing points in New York, US, UK and Mobile, Spain, and is expected to become operational in 2022. In October 2006, the company announced plans to install thousands of solar panels to provide up to 1.6 megawatt of electricity, enough to satisfy approximately 30% of the campus energy needs.
The system is the largest rooftop photovoltaic power station constructed on a U.S. corporate campus and one of the largest on any corporate site in the world.
Since 2007, Google has aimed for carbon neutrality in regard to its operations. In spring 2009, Google hired a herd of 200 goats for a week from California grazing to mow their lawn.
It was apparently more eco-friendly.
Google disclosed in September 2011 that it continuously uses enough electricity to power 200,000 homes, almost 260 million watts or about a quarter of the output of a nuclear power plant.
Total carbon emissions for 2010 were just under 1.5 million metric tons, mostly due to fossil fuels that provide electricity for the data centers.
Google said that 25% of its energy was supplied by renewable fuels in 2010.
An average search uses only 0.3 watt-hours of electricity, so all global searches are only 12.5 million watts or 5% of the total electricity consumption by Google.
In 2010, Google Energy made its first investment in a renewable energy project, putting $38.8 million into 2 wind farms in North Dakota.
The company announced the 2 locations will generate 169.5 megawatts of power, enough to supply 55,000 homes.
In February 2010, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission granted Google an authorization to buy and sell energy at market rates.
The corporation exercised this authorization in September 2013 when it announced it would purchase all the electricity produced by the not yet built 240 megawatt Happy Hereford wind farm.
In July 2010, Google signed an agreement with an Iowa wind farm to buy 114 megawatts of power for 20 years. In December 2016, Google announced that, starting in 2017, it would purchase enough renewable energy to match 100% of the energy usage of its data centers and offices.
The commitment will make Google the world's largest corporate buyer of renewable power, with commitments reaching 2.6 gigawatts, 2,600 megawatts of wind and solar energy.
In November 2017, Google bought 536 megawatts of wind power.
The purchase made the firm reach 100% renewable energy.
The wind energy comes from 2 power plants in South Dakota, one in Iowa and one in Oklahoma.
In September 2019, Google's chief executive announced plans for a $2 billion wind and solar investment, the biggest renewable energy deal in corporate history.
This will grow their green energy profile by 40%, giving them an extra 1.6 gigawatt of clean energy, the company said. In September 2020, Google announced it had retroactively offset all of its carbon emissions since the company's foundation in 1998.
It also stated that it is committed to operating its data centers and offices using only carbon-free energy by 2030.
In October 2020, the company pledged to make the packaging for its hardware products 100% plastic-free and 100% recyclable by 2025.
It also said that all its final assembly manufacturing sites will achieve a UL 27990 zero waste to landfill certification by 2022 by ensuring that the vast majority of waste from the manufacturing process is recycled instead of ending up in a landfill.
In 2023, Google consumed 24 terawatt-hours of electricity, more than countries such as Iceland, Ghana, the Dominican Republic, or Tunisia. Google donates to climate change denial political groups including the State Policy Network and the Competitive Enterprise Institute.
The company also actively funds and profits from climate disinformation by monetizing ad spaces on most of the largest climate disinformation sites.
Google continued to monetize and profit from sites propagating climate disinformation even after the company updated their policy to prohibit placing their ads on similar sites. In 2004, Google formed the not-for-profit philanthropic Google.org with a startup fund of $1 billion.
The mission of the organization is to create awareness about climate change, global public health, and global poverty.
One of its first projects was to develop a viable plug-in hybrid electric vehicle that can attain 100 miles per gallon.
Whoa!
Google hired Larry Brilliant as the program's executive director in 2004 and Megan Smith has since replaced him as director.
In March 2007, in partnership with the Mathematical Sciences Research Institute, MSRI, Google hosted the first Julia Robinson Mathematics Festival at its headquarters in Mountain View.
In 2011, Google donated €1 million to International Mathematical Olympiad to support the next 5 annual International Mathematical Olympiads, 2011 to 2015.
In July 2012, Google launched a Legalize Love campaign in support of gay rights. In 2008, Google announced its Reject 10-100, which accepted ideas for how to help the community and then allowed Google users to vote on their favorites.
After 2 years of no update, during which many wondered what had happened to the program, Google revealed the winners of the project, giving a total of $10 million to various ideas ranging from non-profit organizations that promote education to a website that intends to make all legal documents public and online.
Responding to the humanitarian crisis after the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine, Google announced a $15 million donation to support Ukrainian citizens.
The company also decided to transform its office in Warsaw into a health center for refugees.
Also in February 2022, Google announced a $100 million fund to expand skills training and job placement for low-income Americans in conjunction with nonprofits Europe, Social Finance, and Merit America. Google.org, founded in October 2005, is the charitable arm of Google, a multinational technology company.
The organization has committed roughly US $100 million in investments and grants to nonprofits annually.
The organization is noted for several significant grants to nonprofits using technology and data in innovative ways to support racial justice, educational opportunity, crisis response after health epidemics and natural disasters, and issues affecting the San Francisco Bay Area community where it is headquartered.
It also hosts regular challenges around the world to stimulate innovative uses of technologies to address local challenges.
The mission and approach of Google.org has seen multiple iterations over the years, an approach that mirrors other divisions within Google in its effort to reallocate resources towards the most significant and effective methods.
The organization's general strategy involves funding the use of technology, data, and user-centered design to make a better world faster.
Google.org is considered a part of Google as opposed to an alphabet organization under the formation of the Alphabet parent company in 2016.
To fund the organization, Google granted 3 million shares during their initial public offering, IPO.
In 2014, the corporation stated on its website that it donates $100 million in grants, $200,000, and $1 billion in products each year. As of 2016, Google has focused the majority of its efforts on a few key topics based upon a premise of equality and opportunity. It is the first major corporate philanthropy organization to allocate funding to combat against racial inequality in the United States and has funded organizations such as Brian Stevenson's Equal Justice Initiative, the ACLU, the Ella Baker Center, and Beyond 12.
In 2017, Google pledged $11 million in grants to several organizations in connection with racial bias.
In addition, Google.org funds education, economic development, and digital literacy-related projects in a number of regions. In previous years, Google had funded a number of other areas.
In 2015, they announced a $20 million effort to use technology to improve opportunity and equality for people with disabilities, one of the few portfolios focused on this segment of the population.
Some noted as a unique lens to philanthropy and the subject area that affects roughly 1 in 7 people across the world.
The grant-making initiative resulted in a diverse array of grants, including 3D printed prosthetic for landmine victims and children with limb differences, beacon-powered navigation tools for the visually impaired, data analytics, projects to surface better tools and aids for people with cognitive disabilities, and better bracing and compliance systems for children with clubfoot.
This portfolio ended in 2015. Google.org has also responded to crises around the world, with giving initiatives addressing challenges with the European refugee crisis in 2016, the Ebola crisis in 2014, and the Nepal earthquake in 2015.
In many instances, it has been one of the largest corporate donors.
The organization also gave $250,000 to organizations working to serve residents affected by the Flint water crisis.
In August 2017, the company donated $250,000 to the Red Cross Relief Fund for Hurricane Harvey.
AI for Social Good is a group of researchers, engineers, volunteers, and other people across Google with a shared focus on positive social impact. Google.org and Google in general has also been supportive of a number of causes, including LGBT rights, veterans affairs, digital literacy, and refugee rights. Previous incarnations of Google.org took different approaches, usually focused on technology applied to social sphere, in keeping with a company's brand around technology and innovation. Among its first projects was a mass-produced plug-in hybrid electric vehicle that can attain 100 mpg, miles per gallon, say vehicle to grid. In November 2007, Google.org announced RE-C, renewable energy cheaper than coal. A project that will invest several $100 million in order to produce renewable energy at a profit from wind and solar sources, particularly solar thermal energy.
RE-C has the ultimate goal of creating more than a gigawatt of power, enough to power a city the size of San Francisco, from renewable sources that would be cheaper than energy produced from coal.
The director from 2006 until 2009 was Dr. Larry Brilliant.
Upon stepping down, Brilliant was replaced by Megan Smith, Google's Vice President of New Business Development. And the organization began focusing on creating engineering solutions to global problems with projects such as Google Flu Trends and Crisis Response, an effort to respond to natural disasters.
Megan Smith later left to join the office of the CTO under the Obama administration, at which point Google.org began focusing exclusively on its charitable giving initiatives under the stewardship of Jacqueline Fuller, who currently runs the organization. In 2010, Google gave over $145 million to nonprofits and academic institutions.
In the same year, Google was named the Bay Area's top corporate philanthropist by the San Francisco Business Times for giving $27.6 million to Bay Area charities.
The company has won the same award for a number of years since, including as recently as 2016.
Charitable funds come from Google.org, the Google Foundation, and the company itself.
A new project, started in June 2014, is Made with Code, uses coding programs to allow girls to become interested in the idea of coding and develop more female programmers over time. Google.org's major projects in 2012 included Google Crisis Response, which includes Google Person Finder, Google Public Alerts, and Google Crisis Maps, all supporting disaster relief efforts with critical tools and information.
Google Flu and Dengue Trends, showing near real-time estimates of disease activity based on aggregated search results.
And Google for Nonprofits, providing free or discounted access to some additional Google products for nonprofit organizations. 2012 Google.org projects included develop renewable energy cheaper than coal, RE-C, create utility-scale electricity from clean renewable energy sources that is cheaper than electricity produced from coal.
This project began in 2007 and was dropped in 2011.
Though technical advancements resulted, it did not meet its ambitious goal.
Accelerate the commercialization of plug-in electric vehicles, recharge IT, seed innovation, demonstrate technology, inform the debate, and stimulate market demand to foster mass commercialization of plug-in vehicles.
Predict and prevent, identify hotspots, and enable rapid response to emerging threats, such as infectious disease and climate risk.
Inform and empower to improve public services, use information to empower citizens and communities, providers, and policymakers to improve the delivery of essential public services, such as education, health, water, and sanitation in the developing world.
and fuel the growth of small and medium-sized enterprises, increase the flow of risk capital to small and medium-sized businesses in the developing world. In 2008, Google.org joined a number of renewable energy initiatives, including investing $130 million in eSolar for solar thermal plants,
Presenting at the Renewable Energy Finance Forum Wall Street, held June 18 to 19, 2008 at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel.
Google.org Climate Change and Energy Initiatives Director, Dan Riker, will share the opening remarks. Investing $10 million in Wakani Power for kite systems that tap into jet streams.
Filing a patent application for floating data centers powered by wave power.
And invested in Ultra-Rock Energy, first U.S. demonstration, project of enhanced geothermal systems to create renewable energy through geothermal power. Google.org began moving away from renewable energy initiatives between 2010 to 2015, as Google opted to bring its renewable energy work into formal product areas under the leadership of Larry Alder and Craig Barrett.
A retrospective on leanings from this effort was published in IEEE Spectrum as what it would really take to reverse climate change. We will continue in final part 4 of Google. Stay tuned for more.